Namaste and welcome to Ratio Analysis Solvency under Simple Solution series. We have taken illustration 8 for a specific reason that it covers quite a few solvency ratios. Besides, it also covers the gross profit ratio and capital gearing ratio in specific, because we had not had enough exposure to this particular ratio, and we will make use of this illustration to understand conceptually all solvency ratios. Let us start with the first item, that is sales for the year all on credit 30 lakh rupees and gross profit ratio is 25%. Gross profit is nothing but sales multiplied by gross profit ratio or GP percentage. 30 lakhs into 25% is 7,50,000. And this is given to derive the cost of goods sold, that is sales less gross profit is equal to cost of goods sold. This we will be using for further calculation in relation to turnover ratios. Therefore, cost of goods sold is 22,50,000. We will take the next item, which is fixed assets turnover. As we have understood, whenever the concept of turnover comes, at the top of the formula will be either sales or cost of goods sold, and the other concept will be coming at the bottom, that is at the denominator. Cost of goods sold divided by fixed assets is known as fixed assets turnover, and the result is given as 1.5. Therefore, if we have to have fixed assets valuation, shift it on the other side of the equation and 1.5 comes here. Therefore, cost of goods sold divided by 1.5 is equal to fixed assets. Cost of goods sold is 22,50,000 divided by 1.5. We get the figure 15 lakh rupees, and we have got to fill up fixed assets and we fill it up. This is from point number 1 and 2. We derive the value of fixed assets. Now we are coming to the next point, stock turnover. Stock turnover is given as 6. Since stock turnover is based on cost of goods sold, cost of goods sold divided by stock is equal to 6. Therefore, what is stock? This is in the denominator. Shift it to the other side, shift this side, then stock equals cost of goods sold divided by 6. 22,50,000 divided by 6 is equal to 3,75,000, which is the value of stock. We will post value of stock here. Then going to the next point, debtors collection period. Sales is produced to be fully credit sales as indicated here, all credit. Debtors divided by credit sale into 12 is equal to debtors collection period. And if we have to see how much is debtors, we have to shift it to the other side. 2 multiplied by credit sales divided by 12, that is credit sales is 30 lakhs into 2, 60 lakhs divided by 12 is 5 lakhs. That is the value of debtors. We have debtors here. We shift the figure here. It is posted. Go to the next item. Current ratio is given as 1.5:1 and liquid ratio is given as 1:1. We have to understand one thing. Between current ratio and liquid ratio, there are two items which make a difference. In liquid liabilities, there will be exclusion of bank overdraft. In this problem, there is no mention of any bank overdraft or short-term loans. Therefore, what we presume is liquid liabilities is equal to current liabilities. Once both are equal, current ratio means current assets by current liabilities, and liquid ratio also means liquid assets by current liabilities. Since denominator is the same in both equations, we will focus only on the top because the base is the same. Current assets and liquid assets. What is the difference between the two? If we deduct current assets from liquid assets, we get stock. Because out of current assets, when you exclude stock, we get liquid assets. Therefore, what we do is, as per the current ratio, what is the proportion of current assets and compared to current liabilities? It is 1.5. That is the weight. In case of liquid assets, what is the weight of liquid assets over current liabilities, which are also equal to liquid liabilities? It is 1. We know that current assets minus liquid assets is equal to stock. Just understand this simple equation. If current assets is equal to 1.5, stock is equal to 0.5. Do we know the value of stock? Yes, we have derived the value of stock as 3,75,000. If 0.5 equals 3,75,000, how much is 1.5? How much is 1? That is what is required to be done. Now we have got this equation. Stock, which is equal to 0.5, is 375. Let us take current liabilities. What is the value of current liabilities? Current liability is 1. If stock is 0.5, how much is 1? It is double that amount. Current liabilities is stock divided by 0.5 becomes 7,50,000. 7,50,000 into 1 is 7,50,000. This is the current liability. We have got here liquid stroke current liabilities. We can post the figure here. Then take current assets. Current assets means stock is 0.5. What is current assets? Current assets is 1.5. How much is 1.5? 3,75,000 divided by 0.5 into 1.5. It is equal to 11,25,000. But in current assets, we already have stock. We already have debtors. What we need is only the balance, which might be cash or other current assets. Let us call it as other current assets. Out of 11,25,000, we have already aware of these two, 3,75,000 and 5 lakhs. What is the balance? Balance is 2,50,000. It is nothing but other current assets. Post it here. That covers up to this point. Let us get now next item. Why are we taking fixed assets to net worth? Though serially it is given differently. We are not concerned with in what seriatim the items are given. We go by our thought process and our working style and our comfort. At this stage, we feel fixed assets could be an easy item to calculate and work on. What is fixed assets to net worth? Fixed assets divided by net worth. What is the answer? Is 1.2. Okay, 1.2 is to 1. This is the equation. We already know the fixed assets. Now we need to derive the net worth. If you want to have the net worth, shift net worth on the other side and 1.2 on this side. Means net worth equals fixed assets divided by 1.2. We know fixed assets 15 lakhs divided by 1.2. It gives the figure 12,50,000. Net worth. We know net worth is a combination of these two. Equity share capital plus reserves and surplus is called net worth. Okay. Do we have anything to do with the reserve and surplus? Yes, we have. See, we have to take it up in this order. Reserves and surplus to share capital. Reserves and surplus to share capital. What does it mean? If you take reserves and surplus in relation to share capital, this is 0.6 when share capital is 1. The relation is simple. If share capital is 1, reserves and surplus is 0.6. Let us put that reserves plus capital equals net worth, and we know the net worth figure as 12,50,000. And as per the ratio, what it says is net worth equals 1 into capital, and what is reserves? Reserves is 0.6 of capital, means capital plus 0.6 of capital is equal to 12,50,000. 0.6 capital and 1 capital means total is 1.6 capital. Capital equals 12,50,000 divided by 1.6. If we divide by 1.6, what we get is 7,81,250, which is capital. And as per the same example which is given, if capital is X amount or 1 amount, 60% of it or into 0.6 is reserves and surplus. Let us post the capital here. Once you post the capital, 7,81,250, to the same capital you multiply by 0.6, you get 4,68,750. Post that amount. With that, we have covered everything except one item. Let us proceed to the next slide. Here we have got one item which is pending, that is called capital gearing. What is capital gearing? Capital gearing ratio focuses on all funds, long-term, short-term, with interest or dividend. What are long-term, short-term funds? They may be long-term loans, they may be bank loans which carry interest, they may be preference capital which carries dividend. All these indicate outgoes, therefore they are coming under fixed interest bearing funds, and that will be divided by net worth. Capital gearing ratio. We have heard something similar to this. Yes, we have heard about debt equity ratio. On the top is debt, long-term debt, and it will be divided by shareholder funds. Shareholder funds are also called net worth. Are the two ratios the same? They are almost the same, except in capital gearing, if there is a short-term loan, it will be added in the numerator on the top. If there is preference capital, it will also be added, and that will be divided by net worth. And if these are not available, if preference capital is not there, if short-term interest-bearing fund is not there, if it is only long-term fund, then fixed interest-bearing funds becomes long-term fund divided by net worth, which is nothing but long-term fund divided by shareholder fund. Capital gearing is similar and equal to debt equity ratio when there are no short-term borrowings, no preference capital. In our problem, we don't have preference capital, we don't have short-term bearing funds, we have only long-term bearing funds. We have to remember both are the same, only name has changed. Debt equity ratio talks of how much is held by you as a shareholder, how much is held by outsiders. Whereas capital gearing talks of how much money is contributed to the company by three entities: long-term funds, short-term interest-bearing funds, and preference capital which are to be serviced by payment of interest on a regular basis and repayment of principal. Therefore, this is talking of gearing. Gearing talks of risk. It is a measure of financial risk and expresses the amount of a company's debt and other interest-bearing funds. If there are no short-term funds, if there are no preference capital, capital gearing ratio is similar to debt equity ratio. Having understood this, let us put the formula of capital gearing: long-term debt divided by net worth, which is nothing but debt equity ratio. Otherwise, it is fixed interest bearing funds divided by net worth. But for us, there are no preference shares, no short-term loans, only long-term debt. Therefore, the moment you put long-term debt divided by net worth, it also becomes debt equity ratio. Now we do the calculation. We know the net worth. Yes, net worth is equity plus reserves and surplus, which is 12,50,000, divided by net worth is equal to 0.5. That is what is given here. We need to find out long-term debt. Net worth is dividing here. Shift it to the other side. It will multiply. Net worth into 0.5 is equal to long-term debts. 12,50,000 into 0.5, 6,25,000. That is the gap which we fill up. We have covered all items given in the question. We have covered all assets and liabilities. And since we have taken the same formula for each of the concepts, we have matched. And as a part of answer, we give the working notes as we have observed now: fixed assets turnover, stock turnover, debtor collection period, current ratio, liquid ratio leading to current liabilities and current assets, cash balance, fixed asset to net worth, reserves and surplus, capital gearing, and the balance sheet. With this, we have successfully completed the solution and we have understood afresh the capital gearing ratio and its similarity with the debt equity ratio. Debt equity ratio talks of external funds and payment to be made outside, whereas capital gearing talks of funds to be paid for servicing a debt, preference share, as well as a short-term loan. And that's it. Thumbs up. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.